All right, so let's get started. And we will start lying down with shoulders on the block. And you can have the legs in Baddha Konasana, feet together, knees out to the side, or any other position you would like. And choosing your height of block, maybe a second block or something else for under your head. And watch out for hair getting stuck under on the block. And then easing your way out. Inhaling and exhaling. And as that physical body gets a little more comfortable, a little more situated, bringing your attention to the breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Noticing how it feels to breathe in this position, in this shape. Drawing that breath deeper and deeper, further down toward the base of the pelvis. And if you like, breathing out through the arms, reaching them up overhead in big snow angel arms. And then breathing them back down, lingering anywhere along the way that feels good. And we'll take a few more breaths here. And sliding those legs out to straight. And then gently making your way up off the block. And we'll move that block out of the way, coming to Sukhasana, the crossed legs. And using those arms behind, giving a little lengthen up, space coming between the vertebrae, space in the hip sockets. And letting the hands rest on the knees, pouring down the sides of the neck off the tops of the shoulders. Inhaling and exhaling. And then reaching out wide through the collarbones, through the fingertips. Breathing the arms up. And breathing the arms down. Then next time we'll do a cactus pull as we breathe the arms up and then pulling those elbows wide, maybe a lift to the upper chest, squeezing those shoulder blades together, lifting back up all the way from the base of the spine and reaching out. Let's do that again with the cactus. And then we will add the elbow squeeze on after that cactus. Lifting up, pulling those elbows down, squeeze the elbows together, and you can really round back. And then pressing wide and open again, lifting up, and then once more like that. And squeeze and round. Doesn't matter if you happen to have made up some slightly different little pattern here. And then we'll all be breathing our arms back down, changing the cross of the legs, and coming forward and over, breathing across the back of the body. And then let's walk the hands over to the right low diagonal. So we're just going to stay on the low diagonal. Inhaling and exhaling, a little drawing of the abdominal muscles up into the spine, especially up around toward the right. So there's a little feeling of twisting to the right. And then walking through the center, over to the left diagonal. And then working with that twist to the leftness there in the belly, especially feeling a little pull up on the left side. And then walking back to the center. Taking a few breaths, evening out the two sides. And then coming up, unfurling the spine vertebrae by vertebrae, arriving back up on top of those sitting bones. Inhaling and exhaling, letting all that settle in your body a moment. And then we will come up to downward facing dog. And walking the dog or anything else you want to do here. And then finishing up with whatever you're doing, finding the best downward facing dog you can do at this moment. Nothing moving but the breath. Inhaling up to those sitting bones, exhale, pouring down the backs of the legs. And then feeling kind of like you're doing the cactus pull, though we're going to keep our arms straight, coming to the plank. Pulling back in those shoulder blades, long through the top of the head, pressing up against the ceiling. And then feeling like you're doing a little drag of the hands and the toes toward each other. We're going to bend the knees, hovering the shins just above the floor like you're about to go down onto all fours in the beast. And then we'll let the knees set down. Take a pull back into child's pose. And then coming back up to downward facing dog. So we're going to do that little sequence twice more. Downward facing dog. And to the plank. Pulling the hands and feet toward each other, bend the knees, start feeling like the knees and hands pull toward each other in the beast. And then setting the knees down, fully back into child's pose. And then coming back up to downward facing dog one more time through that. And to the plank. And bending the knees into the beast. Setting the knees down, pulling back into child's pose. And then we'll slide out onto our stomach into the Sphinx. Elbows under the shoulders, reaching out through those fingertips. And then pulling back like you're pulling yourself forward. Pressing that tailbone to the pubic bone into the floor, reaching back through the legs. And then coming down. And let's come back up in any version of the cobra you want. Maybe the giant bug, maybe the more traditional with the hands back, or a big, wide, and spacious cobra. And breathing here. And then coming down, peeling back up to downward facing dog. Maybe a few cat and cow ripples along the way. And one more deep breath in downward facing dog. And looking between the hands to jump or step forward. Into the concave back, halfway up. Lengthen out a little more, maybe come up even higher so you really have lots of room, drawing the shoulder blades together on the upper back. And then pouring over. And then coming up to standing, big front body yawn. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And bringing those arms around. Let's come all the way around to Namaste in front. And then breathing those hands up the center line. A little front body yawn as we bring the arms around to the interlocked fingers, and then a little bit more lift the chest to lift the chin. And coming forward, pressing out through the hands to counterbalance you. And then let's bend the knees into the concave back here in the sphere. Try to kind of stick your butt out there. And then tipping forward into the forward bend. And release the hands. And we'll step back with the right leg. So we're going to think of leading with the right leg moving, stepping back with the right leg into the long, low lunge, and then pressing the tailbone down to bring the right knee down. Coming up in Chapasana, the kneeling lunge. And then just bringing the arms down, stepping back to the plank, through the vinyasa, any version, and then downward facing dog. And let's lift our right leg up, reaching long through the heel, reaching down through the left heel. And big inhale and exhale through to the lunge. Now we're in our right lunge. And bringing the left knee down. Coming up in Anjayasana. Inhaling up the front, exhale, pouring down the back. And a big reach down with the arms, straighten up that left leg, stepping forward into the straight leg concave back, folding over, and coming up, big front body yawn, and all the way around to Namaste in front. And then similar, but with a few add-ons as we lead with the left, breathing the hands up the center line, into the front body yawn, and a big half circle down to interlock the fingers. Lift the chest even more up to the ceiling, and then coming forward. And then we'll add the twist on here. So let's see, let's bend the left knee, twisting to the right. Left shoulder and left knee go toward each other. Hands pull to the left to make a twist to the right. Coming back to the center. And then other side, twisting left by bending the right knee, right shoulder going toward the right knee, hands going over to the right. Breathing here. And coming back to the center. And release the hands. And then let's step back with the left leg. So now we have our right lunge. And then we'll take a twist here. Twisting to the right. Pulling that right outer hip back and down. And then a big reach around with the right arm. We're going to bring our left knee down to the floor again to come up in Anjayasana. And then drawing the hands down the center line into Namaste. And Namaste into the floor. Stepping back to the plank. Vinyasa, downward facing dog. And then we will lift the left leg up, reaching long through the heel, reaching down through the right heel. And a big inhale and exhale through to the lunge. Twisting to the left, making sure that left hip doesn't pull up, pulling it back and down so there's a counter pull from that left hand to that left outer hip. And then a big reach around with the left arm, bringing the right knee down, coming up in Anjayasana. And Namaste. And Namaste into the floor, straightening up that right leg, stepping forward. Into the concave, back halfway up, folding over. And then let's jump or step back through the vinyasa, downward facing dog. And then let's do kind of like we did in the beginning there, forward to the plank. And bending the knees in the beast. Feel like you're pulling the feet and hands toward each other. The knees and hands really hold on to the core in the center. And then we'll set the knees down. And this time we're going to sit back on the heels in simplified Virasana, or maybe putting the legs straight out in front if this isn't going to work. Or grabbing your block, you can sit on the block. So reaching long through the shins, reaching long through the tops of the thighs, reaching long through the top of the head. So we're not just kind of sagging into the floor. Reaching, reaching, lengthening. And then let's reach out wide through the collarbones to the fingertips, breathing the arms up, and we'll do some more reaching. Lengthening up one side and the other, so you can make this be nice and gooey. Maybe there's a little side bending, a little twisting and spiraling going on. And a couple more. And then we'll finish with both arms up overhead, stretching out those hands, big, wide, press down. So remember, I'm not the mirror here. As we sit over onto our right hip and straighten out our left leg into the half dragonfly. All right, reaching long from that right knee to the left foot and finding the center right where your hip bones are pointing, and we will come forward. The half dragonfly. And then walking the hands around towards your left leg, your back leg. So maybe they're inside. Left hand on the left leg, one on each side. So going over on the diagonal that works for you, and then reaching back through the right sitting bone into the floor, reaching out through the right knee. And then let's reach through our right arm, coming around through a side bend, a little twisting to the right there, and then keep going around to the half binding with that right arm. Roll the shoulder out, reach the elbow back, and lengthening out and over with the left side of the body over the left leg rather than the front. And then coming up. And we will reassemble in that simplified Virasana. And then over to the left, sitting off on the left hip, straightening out that right leg, which the back of that right knee might be very glad to be extended out there. Into the half dragonfly. And then finding wherever your center is, might or might not be lined up with the mat. And coming forward, reaching long from the right foot to the left knee. And then walking the hands over toward the right leg. So maybe they're inside, however they fit at the moment. Inhale and exhale, breathing yourself over that right leg. And then also reaching back through the left sitting bone into the floor, reaching out through the left knee. And then we'll reach long through that left arm, twisting to the left up into a side, bending for a moment. And then keep going, pulling that left shoulder back even more, reaching the left arm around in half binding. And rolling that left shoulder out, pressing the elbow away as you reach out with the right side of the right ribs now over the right. And coming up. And we'll pull our right leg back into that simplified Virasana for a couple breaths. And then making your way back up to downward facing dog. And through the vinyasa, any version. So any version could be one of those bend the back leg things that I like to do sometimes. And then we'll all be back in downward facing dog. And let's lift the right leg up, reaching long through the heel. And through to the lunge. So you can come up in either the warrior one or the high lunge. I'm going to use the warrior one. And then let's circle those arms all the way around. And straightening that right leg. Feel like you're pulling the left leg toward the right. So if you're in the high lunge, you might want to bring that left heel down. And just take a few moments reaching up here, long straight legs. Now we're just going to reach higher, pivot the feet and land in the elephant rider with those feet out about 45 degrees. Pressing back, stretching out the inner thighs. And then right from here, we're headed for the side angle. So we'll turn the left foot at 90 degrees, turn the right foot to its own 90 degrees, and maybe bring that right hand to the floor inside or on the right leg. And then really feeling twists to the leftness. And pressing that left arm back and then reaching it back, a big circle around. And as it comes back up, it'll pull you up into the warrior number 2. Reaching out through that inner thigh to the inner knee over the foot. Couple more breaths here. And then we'll straighten the right leg, bringing the hands together overhead. Feel like you're straightening the left leg as well, like you're pulling those legs both into the center and up out the fingertips. And then let's hinge into the triangle, Trikonasana. And reaching that left arm over the ear, long and flat to the ceiling with that left side. And then letting it pull you down, using this for like a nice shoulder stretch there, pulling in. And then here we are, stepping back to the plank through the vinyasa, any version. And then we'll all be in downward facing dog. Taking 3 deep breaths there, and then we'll go around on the left. Let's lift our left leg. And through to the lunge. Coming up in either the warrior one or the high lunge. And breathing here. Every breath a subtle action. And then circling the arms all the way around and back up overhead. And so as the arms come up, reaching up, at first we're resisting, pulling that left sitting bone down. And then we let them reach through, the hands pull us up, straightening the left leg, feeling like the right leg gets straighter as well. A little like you're dragging the feet in toward the center, lifting a little higher. And then a big lift up and over, pivot the feet into the elephant rider. Ah. And then making your way from down here to the side angle. Turning that right foot out to its 90 degrees. Turning that left foot out to its 90 degrees. Maybe the elbow is on the knee. Maybe the hand is on the floor. And then really feeling that twist to the right. And pressing that right arm away even more. And then a big reach around. And a big circle down and up to pull yourself up into the warrior number 2. And as that right hand pulls, then we resist with that left inner thigh to inner knee to the front. Maybe slowing your breath down a little. And then we'll straighten that left leg, pulling the arms up overhead. Feel like the right leg gets straighter. Like you're pulling everything into the center line and up. And then tilting into the triangle, Trikonasana. And we'll reach the right arm over the ear, long and flat up toward the ceiling with the right side. And then reaching down, really getting a stretch through the shoulder as you do that. Vinyasa or not, downward facing dog. Remember, vinyasa or not also includes vinyasa 2 or 3 times. And then we'll all be in downward facing dog. And then forward to the plank. And bending the knees into the base. And then setting the knees down, sitting back onto the heels and simplified Virasana. We're only going to be here a moment. Deep breath. And then coming up to standing on our knees. Short Tadasana. Breathing the arms up, and we'll do the reaching again. Reaching up one side and the other, so you can have a little twisty wave there. And then we will finish up with this. So finishing right and left for yourself. Both arms up overhead. And then a big wide press down, lengthening up through the top of the head. You can store your hands here on your hips for a moment if you want. And I'm going to bring the left leg out for Parigasana, a little bit in front of the right knee. Standing right up on top of that right leg, top of the left leg facing the ceiling, the knee and the foot. And so maybe your pointed foot, the toes don't touch the floor, that's fine. Bringing the arms out to parallel, lift and extend a little more, and then up and over to the left. Breathing into the right side, try not to let yourself sit back. Press that tailbone a little forward. Coming up long through the top of the head, retrieving that left leg, and then right leg out to the diagonal side. Standing right up on top of the left hip. I'm always amazed, even when I think I'm standing up on top of the left hip, there's often another little fraction of a centimeter lift in there. And then we'll reach those arms out to the side, lift and extend just a little more, up and over to the right, Parigasana. And then watch that you're not kind of sitting back. Press that tailbone forward, lift up and over, even if it means your side bend's not really large. And a big inhale and exhale, coming back up. And we will retrieve our right leg. And then make those knees about hip distance apart, 2 inches or so. And we'll not Parigasana, Uttanasana, the camel pose. So fingertips going down, not jammed into the waist, but down lower with the heel of the hand. Or you can hold on to the side. Coming up and over. And take another breath. Maybe there's a little more up and over. Maybe there's a little more. And then coming up long through the top of the head. Deep breath, and let's go once more. Maybe this time going for your heels. Maybe this time it's a little smaller back bend because your back has had enough intensity. Is your face relaxed? Are the eyes relaxed? And then we'll make our way back up, long through the top of the head. Contract yourself onto all fours, and we'll do a couple cats and cows. Feel like we've been on the verge of doing cats and cows several times in the class so far and didn't really do it. But here we are. And let's expand up into downward facing dog. Letting that downward facing dog lengthen out your spine as well. It's a good counter pose for back bends. And through Vinyasa or not. And let's lift our right leg up, reaching long through the heel. And then through to the lunge. Let's come up in the warrior number 2. And then we'll head up to Ardha Chandrasana, or could be the triangle again. Reaching out, reaching up, a little weight shift, and then pressing up to the ceiling with your left side. And maybe doing the Chappasana variation, bending that left leg, getting hold of the ankle or the foot. And just like in the Parigasana gate pose, try not to let yourself kind of squinch in. Press that tailbone forward. If you've got hold of that ankle or foot on the left side, extending that left side out long and flat to the ceiling once again. And I'm going to float our left foot to the floor and just turn to the lunge and going to the side plank on the left, pivoting around. And stepping back with the right leg, stacking the feet or inner right foot in front of the outer left foot there. Into the side plank, feeling that little bit of twisting to the rightness there. And then to the center. And let's side plank over onto the right. Feeling a little twisting to the leftness. It mostly happens in the transition. We go from here to open. And bringing that left hand down, and we're in the plank. Bending the knees like the beast, setting the knees down, pulling into child's pose. And then Let's come into the Dolphin pose. The forearms, the downward facing dog on the forearms. You can have the hands extended out Sphinx-like, or maybe interlock the fingers there. Interlocking the fingers is a little more stabilizing for your shoulders. So as we come up in the Dolphin, we're going to cast our mind way back to the beginning of class when we did that elbow squeeze. So there's a cactus action with the outer shoulder blades going to the sitting bones, but then also a feeling of squeezing the elbows a little toward each other. We press down through those lower arms or the outer edge of the lower arm if you have the interlocked fingers. A few more breaths here. And coming down, sitting back in child's pose for a moment. And then coming up to downward facing dog. And you can go through a vinyasa or not. And then we'll do all of that around on the left. And let's lift the left leg up. Reaching long through the heel. Through to the lunge. Warrior number 2. Taking a few breaths here. And then heading for Ardha Chandrasana. Reach with the left, and the weight shifts, the hair shifts, and you press up to the ceiling with your right side. And maybe doing the Chappasana variation, bending that right leg. Maybe you can find the foot or ankle. You can also, I forgot to say on the other side, you can bend the right leg and not necessarily get hold of the ankle, but just feel that. And then try not to fold your right knee forward and kind of sit back into the hip. Try to press the tailbone forward. And then we'll extend that right leg back out. And we're going to float that right leg down to the floor. And then a pivot around to side plank on the right. Stacking the feet, one foot in front of the other, right knee on the floor, however you want to do this. And back to the center, and then over to the left. And back to the plank. Holding the plank a moment, or maybe not a moment. I think we know we're headed for child's pose. And then feel like you're pulling the hands back as you bend the knees into the feast. And then letting those knees set down, pulling back into child's pose. And then let's come up in that dolphin once again. Noticing whichever one you're doing, you're using the arms straight out. You feel that wrist joint flattening down, expanding out. If you've got the fingers interlocked, that's kind of a nice squeeze and brace of the wrist joint. So it makes a subtle counter pose to that pressure from the side planks. All right, here we are. And a kind of shorter downward facing dog. Pressing those forearms down, a little feeling of squeezing the elbows together. And then maybe trying lifting the leg here, lifting that right leg up. You could add in the slide, pulling forward, so you don't have to go very far forward. And pressing back. And then we'll try lifting the left leg if you were lifting legs. You can come down and regroup as needed. Maybe add in the slide in there. And finishing as you're ready, bringing that left leg down. And then we'll make our way back to child's pose. And then coming up, unfurling that spine. Oh, and let's go to VinyasaSat. All right, let's see. The left leg, so I'm being the mirror here. Left leg down, right crosses over, or whatever variation you want to do there. And we'll twist to the right. Inhale, lots of space, exhale, and twist. And coming back to the center, bringing that top leg down into Gomukasana, or you could go to the crossed legs, either one. And then let's take a twist to the left here. Inhale and exhale, twisting left. Coming back to the center. And let's see if we can do the full Gomukasana arms. You can always do the left elbow, holding just the left elbow. Or maybe we can get that right arm around so it comes around kind of like you're doing the half binding. You could hold that right arm in a half binding. Or maybe you can slide the right hand up the center of the back. Collarbones wide, shoulders down as much as you can. And then that left arm coming up, elbow bends. Maybe it finds the right hand behind there. And if you have hold of the hands, see if you can ease off on the tightness of the hold and hold that shape of the arm more with the muscles, or not. And then let's pull over to the right side, lengthening up through that left elbow. And then slowly making your way onto the diagonal down and around to the center front. And releasing the hands. Inhaling and exhaling. And coming up, disentangle those legs. Take a moment stretching the legs out in front, maybe a little circling of the ankles. And then we'll head to the other side. And that's Andrasana first. Bending the right leg, left foot crosses over, or whatever variation. Taking a few moments here. Getting settled on those sitting bones, feeling the difference between this and Gomukasana, similar but different. And we will twist to the right. Inhale and exhale. Coming back to the center. And then we'll bring that left leg down into Gomukasana, or maybe going to the cross legs. Squeeze the legs together along through the top of the head. Let's twist to the right. Inhaling and exhaling. And coming back to the front. All right, here we go for the Gomukasana arms, whatever combination of the parts works for you. So the left arm is now the bottom arm. I just said you can reach that around just like a half binding, or maybe bending that left elbow more, trying to get the back of the hand up the center back rather than just over to the right hip. And then trying to not be too squinched in. Wide collarbones, left shoulder down. Sometimes we have to start in the best of intentions rather than quite being there yet with that openness. And then adding the right arm in, reaching up, bending the elbow. Maybe you can find the left hand. And then a little side bending to the left, lengthening out through the right elbow. And then pulling on the diagonal down and slowly making your way around to the center right. And release the hand. And coming up. Oh, let's disentangle those legs, giving them a little stretch out. A little circling in the ankles. And we will make our way down to the floor. So maybe right into Shavasana, or if there's something else you would like to do, you could do that. Maybe another back bend. Yeah, maybe another back bend. You could do the bridge pose, the supported bridge pose, or maybe Urdhva Dhanurasana. And so remember, just Shavasana is also a good option. And if you're going into the back bend, despite that it takes a certain amount of effort, see if you can find the ease there. How much can you soften the face, the eyes, the jaw, maybe even closing the eyes? So if you're back bending or something else, finishing with that, and we'll all be in Shavasana. Inhaling and exhaling, sinking into the floor. So if you did a back bend, you might want to keep the knees bent with the knees falling in toward each other for a few moments, at least letting that lower back release a little more. And then breathing yourself back into your body, into the room. Moving the fingers and toes, getting the circulation going, maybe circling the wrists and the ankles. And bending the knees, stretching the arms up overhead. And then gently making your way up to sitting, and sitting in any comfortable position with that long and spacious spine. Taking a few more moments, sitting quietly inside yourself. Namaste. Thank you for coming.